Now, here's the thing. There are a lot of things. And by thing, of course, we mean Benjamin Grimm, the long-serving muscle of Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four. The idea of giving ordinary people extraordinary powers and having them react realistically proved extremely successful for the Fantastic Four. We've seen countless other superheroes follow this formula since, and that's not all. We've also seen a huge number of variations on the Thing himself. Whether it's from being in an alternate reality, an in-universe copycat, or just a straight-up rip-off from another publisher, there are so many alternate versions of the Thing that we couldn't fit them all on one list, so apologies in advance to any Captain Thingbeard fans. But with all that in mind, I'm Will for What Culture, and here are 10 insane alternate versions of the Thing you won't believe exist. 10. Marvel Mangaverse's Benjamin Grimm. Now, the Mangaverse was an interesting thing. Yes, the comics were drawn in a traditional Eastern comic book style, but the stories within them were also considerably retooled to incorporate the tropes and trends of manga and anime storytelling. So the Mangaverse's Benjamin, pronounced Benjamin Grimm, was no longer the grumpy rock monster we knew and loved. He was now a geeky young introvert with a stammer who had the power to manipulate rubble and other urban material. He used this power to create a mecha-like armor of rocks around his own body. And once armored up, Benjamin's real personality would rise to the surface. An absolute badass. 9. Iceberg and the Fantastix. Although it's no secret that the Fantastic Four's absence from comics for a while was the result of a business decision rather than a creative one, the reunification of Marvel's longest-running super team did generate a lot of hype. So imagine their surprise when, upon their return, they saw that New York had already fallen in love with a new, very familiar-looking team, the Fantastix. Made up of Ms. Fantastix, 2D, Hope, and the Iceberg, the Fantastix were basically the Fantastic Four with better social media management. Jack the Iceberg Pierce was the team's muscle. He was essentially the Thing made of ice instead of rocks, with a trendy pair of shades thrown in for style points. Guess you could say this guy looks cool. 8. Jack Kirby. It's well known that the Thing, one of Jack Kirby's most iconic creations, resembles him in a few ways. But what if the Thing didn't just resemble Jack? What if the Thing was Jack? That was the question asked by Marvel's What If 11. Written and drawn by Kirby himself, this comic presented us with an alternate reality in which the Skrulls gifted the real-life staff of Marvel a chance to live life as the very heroes they created. Editor Stan Lee became Mr. Fantastic, Secretary Flo Steinberg became the Invisible Woman, Vice President Sol Brodsky became the Human Torch, and of course Kirby kept the best for himself. He became the Thing. Aside from a penchant for chewing cigars and a talent for drawing, there's honestly not a big difference between Kirby's Thing and Benjamin Grimm's Thing. This makes a lot of sense, as Kirby often spoke about growing up in a tough New York City neighborhood, where you needed to know how to fight to survive. 7. Ricardo Jones. Ricardo was born with an unfortunate skeleton. Aside from having human skin instead of orange rocks, his frame was almost identical to that of the Thing's. Bullied his entire life because of his appearance, Ricardo grew deeply jealous of the Thing's fame, power, and relationships, so he decided there was one thing for it. He would replace the Thing. After drugging a down-and-out Ben Grimm and sending him to sleep, Ricardo used a machine of his own making to transfer the Thing's appearance and powers into his own body. The rest was easy. He simply walked right into the Fantastic Four's headquarters and began his new life. Unbeknownst to Ricardo, while absorbing the Thing's powers, he had also absorbed a part of his heroic spirit. When an experiment went wrong and Mr. Fantastic ended up falling through a dangerous portal, Ricardo didn't even think twice. He jumped in after this man he barely knew and saved his life. Ricardo would die in that portal, knowing he'd done the right thing and not even caring that all the credit for his action would end up going to the Thing. 6. Rex Majestos. Astro City is an anthology comic set in a city full to the brim with super people. Almost all of Astro City's citizens are analogues for other well-known DC and Marvel characters, and the comic serves as a fun, copyright-dodging way to explore an alternate world of alternate heroes and villains. The Fantastic Four of Astro City are known as the First Family, and the member of the team we're interested in is Rex Majestos. Rex is the heir apparent of the throne of Monstro City, and also happens to be the son of Madame Majestrix, the First Family's greatest nemesis. Unlike the Thing, his powers are not the result of a freak intergalactic accident, but simply his natural dinosaurian physiology. Like the Thing, he has all the street smarts and mannerisms of a brash, bawdy New York brawler, though he can turn on the sophisticated upper-class charm when he needs to. If you love the Thing but just wish he looked more like a dinosaur and spoke more like a member of the royal family, well, Astro City might just be for you. 5. The Wonderful One. In Marvel's Infinity Warps, Gamora used the Infinity Stones to fold the universe in half. This created a world of brand new heroes and villains, all of whom were the result of two characters being merged into one. Naturally, this folding turned the Fantastic Four into the Terrific Two, and the Thing was merged with the Human Torch to create Hot Rocks. Now, there wasn't really that much to Hot Rocks, being basically just the Thing, but on fire. However, the fun did not stop there. In the follow-up event Secret Warps, the Infinity Stones folded the universe in half once again, leading to even more insanity. Hot Rocks and Mr. Invisible joined forces and bodies to become Reuben Storm, the Wonderful One. With the combined powers and ego of every member of the Fantastic Four, the Wonderful One was a hodgepodge pick and mix of distinct superpowers, contrasting personalities, and terrible, terrible puns. 4. Harvey Pekar's pal, the Thing. Harvey Pekar was a legend in the underground comic scene. Creator of American Splendor, he revolutionized the way graphic novels were perceived both by critics and the general public. That's the beauty of Harvey Pekar Meets the Thing, one of the last strips Pekar ever wrote. There are no fights, no intergalactic conquests, no threats of global domination. It's just an old friend stopping Harvey in the street to see if he can help him find a job. That old friend just happens to be super-powered orange behemoth, the Thing. This comic book strip actually turned out to be strangely prophetic. The Thing tells Harvey that, even though they're making a movie about his team, he's worried that Marvel are about to fire him. He's running low on cash and he heard that Harvey was retiring, so the Thing asks if he could take over Harvey's file clerk job. Even though Pekar had no way of knowing when he wrote the story, the movie in question would turn out to be a massive flop, and Marvel Comics would cancel the Fantastic Four series for a few years after this comic. Now, as for whether the Thing actually got the desk job, we never find out. Sorry. 3. Dragonfly. We now take another foray into the alternate reality madness of Marvel's What If series. Issue 6 from 1977 asked a very simple question. What if the Fantastic Four had different superpowers? The issue retold the Fantastic Four's origin almost verbatim, with the only difference being how their bodies reacted to the cosmic rays. Inspired by Ben Grimm's past as a highly skilled fighter pilot, he was transformed into Dragonfly. Rather than the stocky, muscle-bound fighter that the Thing was, Dragonfly had a pair of wings that were, fittingly, somewhat of a cross between a dragon's and a fly's. This suited Ben perfectly, and we got to see a version of the character who was confident and proud of his powers, rather than ashamed of his deformities. Much more of an agile and tactical fighter than the original character, he flourished and took on more of a leadership role within the team. 2. The Ruins of Ben Grimm and Peter Parker. Warren Ellis's Ruins is an intensely depressing and entertainingly mean-spirited parody of Alex Ross's masterpiece Marvels. Following the same main character, photographer Phil Sheldon, Ruins takes place in a universe that follows one rule: anything that can go wrong will go wrong. This reality's point of divergence from the mainstream Marvel universe actually stems from Ben Grimm. In this version of events, when Reed Richards asks him to pilot his spaceship, he refused. The ship was struck by cosmic rays, and everyone on board died. Ben now lives his days wallowing in regret, knowing that if he was the pilot, things might have gone just a little bit differently. The closest thing to the Thing's classic look in Ruins is a deadly mutant virus that Peter Parker picks up after being bitten by an irradiated spider, turning him into a disgusting yet familiar looking orange monster. 1. 4 more things. In another issue of Marvel's What If series, we're treated to 4 short explorations of 4 different realities in What If the Fantastic Four all had the same power. Jim Valentino, the writer and artist, had a lot of fun designing the 4 things. Ben Grimm is his usual blocky self. Reed Richards is a taller, scarier, gorilla-like grey thing. Johnny Storm morphs into a pathetic, childlike thing that looks like it's made of lumpy wet clay, but is actually highly reminiscent of the thing's original design. In a bizarre but highly effective choice, Sue Storm fully transforms into Man-Thing, a character already established in Marvel lore as a vile creature who lives in the swamp and feeds off fear. The 4 things prove to be too much for the citizens of New York, and the Fantastic Four are exiled to Monster Isle. There, they live out the rest of their miserable lives forever, separated from their fellow man. See, this here is why we can't have nice things. And there you have it, folks, 10 insane alternate versions of the thing you won't believe exist. Feel free to drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, and drop me a follow on Twitter at uslidedowyu. I'm Will for What Culture, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.